Northland, welcome back and thank you for joining us. Now, this morning we are talking all things dance, particularly ballet at the DECC, from the Minnesota Ballet's upcoming performances to a national tour, also making some stops here in Duluth. With me now in studio, Dan Hartman, Executive Director at the DECC. Dan, good morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah.
I'm happy to have you in and shed a little light on what you guys have going on the stage, and also in terms of just events in general.
Yeah.
Dan just told me they had a national tour stop by of magicians.
Yeah, so the Masters of Illusions had their show last night, and this is the first time that we've had national level magicians back in Duluth for probably 10 plus years.
Amazing.
And this is, I would say, the start, because we had a lot of good turnout last night, and so you'll probably see more and more of this too.
What does that do for the DECC and for the community by inviting national tours?
Yeah, it kind of inspires people to get really into these things, because you're seeing people at the top of their game. So you saw a couple years ago we brought Broadway back, and we did a little trial balloon, and it went really well. And I think when you see these national level talents, and frankly some international level talent, it just kind of inspires us to be more excited about that genre. Maybe you get interested in that thing in general. You know, like I was with my kids last night as a magician, and I'll tell you, they were definitely inspired by the magician and trying to figure out how do they do the card tricks, how do they make the helicopter appear. I mean, it was definitely a thing. And so I think we don't think about this, but when you have these national, say, country bands come into town, well, people get really excited about country music then. Then it gets you all riled up. And that's kind of our hope, is to give a diversity of things so folks get to see all the things. So
obviously the Minnesota Ballet has been a big part of performances at the DECC. And can you talk about how they are continuing to hit the stage?
Yeah.
But you were also, like you said, trying to bring in some more national tours to also get more eyes on ballet in particular.
Yeah, I mean, similar to we have the Broadway back now, and I would say that's inspiring new people into watching plays. And so I wouldn't be surprised if there's now overlap going to some of our other local play groups. You're now probably seeing more interest in ballet, because if you see just their stages at like the Great Gatsby, they're spending an enormous amount of money on these things. And so I think that's inspiring people to want to go to some of our local ballet as well, which has a long legacy of being at the DECC and around town in general.
There have been some concerns floating around the community regarding the Minnesota Ballet and maybe performances being cut or changed, their time at the DECC being impacted by bringing in the national tours. Is there any truth to that? No.
And so I think there's just a general a lot of confusion, because this is the first time, once again, in many years, that we started to see these national tours coming back through. And so even in regards to plays, there was definitely some feels at first on bringing Broadway back, because people were concerned about what does this mean for our local theater. And I would say it only just enhances everyone's interest in these genres themselves. And with ballet, I mean, we are frankly surprised at the interest level. And so how we rank ourselves is when a show comes through town, we want to know, how did that show do everywhere else? And how did we do on that scale? And so when we had our first ballet show, we were surprised that we were one of the highest attended shows on their tour.
Wow.
And last night on the Magician Tour, we were one of the highest attended on that tour. And so that shows you that regional interest. And, one of the things that's really great about having, like, say, the Rural Ballet come in is typically only 25% of our attendees at that are actually from the Duluth area. And so the majority of that are coming like from Brainerd, from I Falls, from Hibbing, sometimes about 10 or so are from the cities. But now that's interest coming to Duluth for these shows, so that when the Minnesota Ballet has their Nutcracker, maybe they're getting some of these people from out of Duluth more, which is also great for them to find more donors, get more interest in general. Because a lot of folks from Brainerd don't know the Minnesota Ballet exists. And so if we can have some overlap here, this is a great marketing thing, frankly, for everybody. But a lot of confusion on this, because the Minnesota Ballet is really renting our space. They are coming with their own dancers, their own direction. They're really just kind of really renting from us, and then seeing if it goes well. If it would have went bad, they probably wouldn't have returned.
Yeah, it's obviously been, like you said, a long history of them tied to the Duluth area. They have the Nutcracker, which is coming up in December, and they'll hit the stage. What is the name of the next national tour that will also be coming, or when could we look to see their performance?
I think it's Cinderella, so I think that's the next one coming up for World Ballet. But the one that we're pushing next actually is going to be the Nutcracker. So that's kind of one of the behind the scenes thing is we do a lot to try to help promote our local stuff too, because we want them to succeed as much as they want to succeed. And so between them and the symphony, you know, we do a lot to try and make sure that these local folks get a little bit more attendance. So hopefully people have seen in the last 4 years a little bit more on social, a lot more earned media attention on some of our local stuff too, because they do an amazing work, and I think it's just great to see people kind of getting excited about that too.
Dan, thank you for joining me, shedding some light on ballet and just everything that's going on at the DECC. I'm sure you're excited to keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, hopefully folks are seeing this, but we're really trying to get as much stuff in town as we possibly can, just because we want everyone who, you know, not everyone has the same interest. And so we want to make sure we're trying to get a wide diversity of different shows back into Duluth again. And frankly, they're having success. So let's keep bringing them.
Magicians to ballet and concerts.
Yeah.
Love it. Dan, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll be right back.